Who is an Inok? We hear the word and perhaps our minds immediately conjure images of ancient monasteries, dark wooden robes, silent corridors, and flickering candlelight. We think of a person who has removed themselves from the map, someone who has walked away from the city square and retreated into the wilderness. But these are merely the external clothes of a far deeper reality. To truly answer the question, we must look beyond the fabric and the stone. An Inok is not simply someone who left the room. An Inok is one who has become an entirely different being. An Inok is one who lives completely, uninterruptedly, in another world even while their feet still touch the dusty paths of this earth. They walk among us, they breathe the same air, they cross the same streets, yet they are not here in the way you and I are here. They dwell in a different realm of existence altogether. Consider this paradox. They move through our physical reality, yet their heart rate is tuned to the rhythm of eternity. They interact with time, but they are no longer governed by it. And because of this radical transformation, a profound isolation occurs. Only an Inok can truly perceive another Inok. To the rest of the world, to those of us bound by the physical senses, caught in the rapid stream of daily concerns, the Inok remains invisible. We do not see who they truly are. When we look at them, we see only earthly shadows. We see an old man, a quiet woman, a simple figure in black. We see physical form, movement and light, but we miss the reality behind it. We are standing in what the ancients called the outer darkness, mistaking the reflection on the water for the sky itself. How does a human being undergo such a metamorphosis? How does a person created of clay, born into time, bound by flesh, become such an other creature? It does not happen through intellectual study alone. It does not happen by reading books or mastering philosophy. It happens through a series of radical, painful, and beautiful acts of forgetting. First, he forgot about this world. Think of what it means to forget the world. It does not mean amnesia, it means detachment. It means that the noise of news, the clamor of politics, the pursuit of status, and the anxiety of social standing simply lost their pull. The gravity of worldly concern broke, and in that precise moment when the world ceased to hold his attention, he began to live in the world of grace. Second, he forgot about his body. Not that he neglected it or despised it, but he ceased to let the physical vessel dictate his identity. He realized he was not merely the muscle, the bone, the fatigue, or the appetite. When he stopped identifying with the physical frame, he began to live in the spirit, in pure, awakened consciousness. Third, he forgot about the selfish self. This is the hardest death of all. The ego, that hungry, defensive, restless center of human life that demands to be praised, fears to be ignored, and constantly guards its boundaries, was laid down. And in the silence left behind by the death of the ego, he found a brand new life in the Holy Spirit. He did not become empty, he became filled. Look closely at the exchange taking place here. Nothing is abandoned without receiving something infinitely greater in return. When he rejected the darkness of the mental world, that endless, churning storm of anxious thoughts, fantasy, speculation, and mental noise, he did not fall into numbness. Instead, he opened his eyes and beheld the heavenly light. And in beholding that light, he was transfigured into light itself. You become what you contemplate. When he cast off the cruel slavery of his own mind, he gained eternal freedom. Is there any master more ruthless than our own unexamined mind? It commands us to fear, and we tremble. It commands us to crave, and we run. It commands us to judge, and we condemn. To be ruled by the unceasing chatter of the intellect is a subtle, agonizing slavery. The Inok recognized this tyranny and surrendered his self-will. And in that ultimate surrender, he united himself with Christ, entering into a freedom that no earthly prison, no circumstance, and no hardship can ever diminish. And what of the passions? What of the fiery storms of human emotion that wreck so many lives? When he renounced anger, the burning desire to assert power over others, and when he renounced lust, the desperate urge to consume another for self-gratification, he did not become cold or unfeeling. He did not become a stone. Rather, by emptying his heart of these destructive fires, he discovered true bliss in boundless, infinite, divine love. He traded the fleeting, burning sparks of passion for the steady, unquenchable sun of holy love. Yet, How often do we see people in this world attempt to shortcut this path? There are many who say, I want to love God, I want spirituality, I want peace. But they want it without the memory of God. They want the comfort of the divine without the discipline of remembrance. They want the warmth of the fire without ever walking over to the hearth. They live as though their purpose on this earth was simply to extend their physical stay for as long as possible. Ask yourself, why were you born? Were you born upon this earth merely to prolong this earthly life with all its inevitable sorrows, decay, betrayals, and sufferings indefinitely? Is the ultimate goal of human intelligence simply to add a few more decades to a story that still ends in a grave? No. You were not born merely to survive. You were born to be saved. Earth is not a permanent home. It is a womb. It is an incubator. It is the place where the soul chooses its eternal direction. To mistake the incubator for the final destination is the greatest tragedy of human existence. An Inok is simply someone who woke up to this reality. An Inok is one who looked at the horizon of human life and said, I will no longer pretend that this temporality is all there is. I will commence my new life in the Spirit, right now, in this very moment. And what is this Spirit? If we attempt to analyze it with our science, our biology, or our psychology, we quickly reach a wall. The Spirit cannot be investigated under a microscope. It cannot be dissected on a laboratory table. It cannot be fully comprehended by the human mind or categorized by logic. The human intellect is a fine tool for navigating the material world, but when it turns its gaze toward the Spirit, it is like trying to capture the wind in a net. All that can truly be known of the Spirit is what Revelation has handed down to us. It is created in the image and likeness of God. Think about those words, the image and likeness of God, because it carries the mark of the divine architect. The Spirit possesses qualities that defy physical law. It is immortal. It cannot be destroyed by fire, water, sickness, or age. It is eternal. Its story does not end when the heart stops beating. It is boundless. It cannot be contained within the 3 dimensions of space. It is incomprehensible. It escapes every definition we try to wrap around it. Yet, as to what it is in its very essence, its core substance, its deepest architecture, nothing definitive can be said in human language. We can only stand before it in awe. When you realize the infinite nature of your spirit, your perspective on human life shifts instantly and permanently. You begin to see that a human being's sole task on this earth is salvation. That is the single pivot upon which the entire human experience turns. That is the very reason we were brought out of non-being into existence. We were given breath, sight, thought, and heartbeats for this one central purpose: to align our spirit with its source, to be healed, to be restored, to be saved. Everything else, every project, every ambition, every empire, every title will be eroded and destroyed by time. Time is a relentless, indifferent acid. It dissolves mountains. It turns great cities into dust. It erases memories. The books written today will eventually decay into unreadable ash. The buildings constructed with iron and glass will eventually crumble. The names of the famous, the powerful, and the wealthy will be forgotten as though they never passed through the lips of men. Time destroys everything it touches except one thing. Only the Spirit will remain. When the sun burns out, when the stars cool into darkness, when the vast ages of this universe fold up like an old garment, the human spirit will still be shining. It will shine through the darkness of centuries, indestructible, untouchable, and completely master of time itself. Time has no authority over that which partakes of the divine nature. This spirit, your spirit, the spirit of the person sitting next to you, the spirit of the beggar on the street, is the most wondrous, mysterious, and unsearchable creation of Almighty God. Nothing in all of cosmos, from nebulae to galaxies, compares to the worth of a single human soul. And yet, look at how we spend our days, look at what we build, look at what we worry about. We spend our brief span of years building and rebuilding things in this life. We build careers, we build houses, we construct elaborate social reputations, or worse, we try to build and rebuild life itself, trying to control every variable, trying to engineer perfect comfort, trying to secure a permanence that this world simply cannot offer. And what happens? In one beautiful, terrifying moment, often when you are most captivated by your creations, when you are most intoxicated with your success, when you say to yourself, "Finally, I have built my kingdom," life is taken away from you. Death steps into the room without knocking. It pulls back the curtain, strips away your hands from the wheel, and leaves you standing before eternity with absolutely nothing in your physical hands. The bank accounts remain behind. The house remains behind. The reputation remains behind, subject to the gossip of those who outlive you. You are left bare. All such earthly pursuits, when made the primary goal of existence, reveal only one thing: how deeply blinded we are by our empty attachments. We live in a state of spiritual hallucination. We look at our daily business, our meetings, our earthly anxieties, and we say, "This is important. This is something," while in reality, weighed on the scales of eternity, it is absolutely nothing. This is not said to bring despair, it is said to wake us up. It is the loving warning of one who sees a person building a house of cards on a frozen river in spring. The ice will melt, the house will fall. Why build upon what cannot last? Earthly life is not meant to be a meaningless dead end. It is not a launch into non-existence or a cruel joke played by the cosmos. Earthly life is a start. It is the starting line into eternity. It is the launching pad from which the soul takes flight into infinite light or self-inflicted darkness. Every decision, every thought, every act of forgiveness, every moment of prayer, every surrender of pride is a step taken along that eternal runway. This is why the one who grasps this truth, the one who takes hold of eternity while still walking through time, is called an Inok. He is called an Inok, the other one, because he looked at the two options laid before every human heart, and he made a conscious choice. He saw the passing, fleeting, restless vanity of this world, with its short-lived pleasures, its endless anxieties, and its inevitable decay, and he said, "No, I choose something else." He chose the other, he chose the eternal. He chose to abandon the worldly noise so that he might hear the silent voice of God. He chose to die to the temporary so that he might live forever in the uncreated light. He became an Inok, and the invitation to step out of the shadows, to leave the outer darkness, and to choose the eternal remains open to us all.